Can an innocent photo of a smiling family or a simple demographic filter on Facebook land you in court? If your marketing team is relying on current trends to fill apartments, you're exposing your property to massive and preventable liability. Hello, property managers. Welcome back to another episode of the Fair Housing Insiders, the show dedicated to helping property management professionals navigate compliance and protect their assets. In our last episode, we talked about great customer service acts as a shield against potential complaints. Today, we're focusing on the opposite end of the spectrum, the high-risk activities that create liability before a single resident even steps foot on your property. We're talking about the minefield of property marketing and advertising. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our deep dives into protecting your business. Today, we're dissecting one of the biggest traps in digital advertising, from risky social media trends to the hidden dangers of using AI for ad spend. Joining me today is the leading authority in the space, fair housing attorney and national speaker, Leslie Tucker. Leslie, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Michael. This topic is it is really important. The way properties communicate has shifted almost entirely online, but that doesn't mean that the law has changed necessarily. In fact, regulatory bodies are getting much more sophisticated at monitoring digital content.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics, language and imagery. Properties often want to create a sense of community, but they actually run into issues with exclusionary language. What are the absolute do not use phrases property managers need to scrub from those printed and digital media ads?
So the core issue is that you cannot market to exclude, only to attract. Any language that explicitly or implicitly targets or excludes a protected class could be a legal violation, even if that's not necessarily what was intended. So avoid terms that might suggest a preference for or against a certain group. Think about phrases like, perfect for a quiet couple, which could exclude families with children, or at least make them feel like they were being excluded. Close to a church, able to walk to church, which kind of subtly suggests a religious preference. Executive bachelor pad, which could imply a preference for a specific gender or familial status. So these types of marketing phrases could be viewed as discriminatory. Now, when it comes to images, pictures, you have to ensure that your visuals reflect a broad, diverse population, even if your property doesn't necessarily look like that. So if every photo on your website or your brochure or social media features only young, white, able-bodied professionals, the message you're sending is that others may not be welcome. HUD has consistently stated that marketing images must reflect the diversity of the metropolitan area that the property is located in. And that doesn't necessarily mean that every photo has to be inclusive of every protected class. It just means that when you're looking at your marketing images, as a whole throughout your various marketing platforms, a variety of demographic groups should be included.
Yeah, that's a great point about imagery, especially since we've seen a huge uptick in properties posting highly informal content like Reels, TikToks, and quick social media videos to attract younger renters. It feels more conversational, but that casual nature makes it kind of easier to slip up. So what content should teams be extremely cautious about when posting on these platforms?
Yeah, and the informality, it certainly does reach a certain group of people, but it's also kind of what raises the risk. A TikTok is not exempt from the Fair Housing Act just because it's casual or fun. I tell clients to worry about these two specific things on social media. One is resident-specific content. So don't post videos or photos of residents unless you have their specific consent, a specific waiver to post their likeness, their picture, their content online. And even then, be cautious because you do risk revealing potentially a disability, marital status, familial status, maybe without their specific consent. And secondly, photos of your amenity spaces. Be careful, because don't use your social content to only showcase amenities that are being used by one demographic. Like, for example, exclusively showing, singles or young adults at the pool, because again, that could it could make families with children feel like they're being excluded.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's probably going to be different for different properties. Like there are properties out there that can have like an actual photography session with models come in to take these pictures to make their community look diverse. But your mom and pop properties probably don't have the budget for that. So looking at things like stock photos, which we've recommended before, that offer maybe a broader, more diverse range of residents showing more activities, might be a safer bet and very accessible to almost anybody. So the biggest and most complex risk right now, I believe, is the use of artificial intelligence in digital ad targeting. We know platforms like Facebook had to settle big lawsuits because their ad targeting tools allowed advertisers to discriminate by excluding protected classes. Now we have AI doing the heavy lifting of optimization, and it's being used all over the property management industry. What are the dangers of using AI for ad spend and property management?
This is a really big compliance risk, Michael. AI is designed to find the most effective audience for your ad, right? So meaning that the audience most likely to convert into a lease. The problem is that AI learns from historical data, as most of us know. If historically your property has leased primarily to one demographic, AI will optimize your ads to show up more frequently to that demographic, thereby, inadvertently excluding other demographics. For example, if you ask AI to optimize your ads for the highest conversion, and the AI learns that people in a zip code that happens to be 95% white have the best chance of qualifying for and signing a lease, now all of a sudden you are effectively redlining or steering through an automated system. So, and neither HUD nor court is going to accept, well, the computer did it, we didn't know, as an excuse. Property managers and property owners are responsible for the outcome of their advertising.
Yeah, and that's really pretty scary because as opposed to pretty much everything else that most property managers and housing providers do, this process might be entirely invisible to like your marketing director. So they simply see there's a better return on the investment. So what steps can property managers take right now to mitigate that AI risk?
I recommend that you establish a fair housing oversight protocol for all ad buys. Number one, this demands transparency. So ask your ad agency or platform for a full list of all the targeting criteria used. It avoids exclusionary filters. So don't use filters based on demographics, zip codes, or interests that strongly correlate with a protected class. This is what got so many of these huge platforms in trouble. This is what they were doing. And focus on location and needs. So you're going to target your ads based on only legitimate factors like proximity to the property, features like, for example, people looking for units with a garage, right? Or general services like, we are pet friendly or something like that.
Got it. Yeah. So in this case, the transparency and oversight are key. So to quantify the risk here, a recent study by the National Fair Housing Alliance found that over 80% of digital housing ads had some form of steering or potential bias in their targeting or creative process. That statistic alone should kind of be a wake-up call for everybody. We like to say here, AI is a tool. It is not a solution. So just like every tool, it needs oversight. It needs somebody to be in charge.
Yeah. And remember, unlike a slip up with a resident, an advertising violation could potentially impact thousands of people unknowingly who never even applied. And that could potentially lead to, a big possible outcome of damages.
Yeah. Yeah. And Leslie, before we wrap, what would you say is the single most important action the property managers can take today to clean up their marketing
I
materials?
would I would recommend conducting a full marketing audit. Look at every image, every headline, every social post. Get a third party or an attorney to review it, kind of with the specific lens, looking for exclusionary language or imagery. If your materials look like they're only selling to one type of person, then you're vulnerable.
Yeah, that's great advice, and obviously another set of eyes on stuff like this can only help. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for your expertise today. We really
My
appreciate it.
pleasure.
And thank you to our viewers. If this episode helped you understand the risk in your marketing strategy, please share it with your marketing team and colleagues. Remember, these episodes are now also made into podcasts. So if you'd like to listen to us while you're driving or while you're on the plane, make sure you subscribe to our channel wherever your favorite podcast platform is. We'll see you next time on the Fair Housing Insiders. Happy training.